All right. Now, meanwhile, the South African National Defence Union is calling on victims of the assault to approach them for help. The union's Pikkie Greeff joins us now virtually to give us their reaction. Mr. Greeff, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. I know that you have some sort of explanation as to what led to this particular attack. What are the events that happened before the attack?
Well, we managed to make contact with one of the victims in the attack, who is a union member as well and a serving soldier in the SANDU. And basically his version is that they were driving along the highway on the way to Pretoria when this black SUV appeared, and a person inside the SUV was pointing a firearm at their car. And then there were a couple of more SUVs which boxed this vehicle in and pushed it to the side of the road where it stopped. And the assailants then got out and tried to smash the windscreen. They didn't succeed in that. They smashed the back window of the car, and the victims were then dragged from the car and severely assaulted. Unfortunately, the member can only remember this assault up until he lost his consciousness.
That's the member that I think everybody has been concerned about, because we did see that suddenly he was no longer moving. So is he okay?
The member is fairly okay. Obviously, he's got some soft tissue injuries and looking at things like concussions, possibly. He's on a follow-up medical visit to one military hospital today. But, you know, he sounded quite traumatized when I spoke to him, which understandably so.
Mr. Greeff, are you going to, a lot of South Africans were saying, when it comes to police, especially police officers who are in a VIP protection unit for a deputy president, we assume as South Africans that those are people who are very highly connected and quite powerful. So, a lot of South Africans were concerned about the victims and them going forward with laying charges, etc. Will they be doing this?
Well, we've given them, some time to consider whether they want to lay charges and whether they need our assistance, in case of intimidation, whatever the case may be, to accompany them to the police station to lay charges. And we think we should give them some time also to make a decision as to whether they would pursue a civil lawsuit against the Minister of Police, take further civil legal action. That's a decision they'll have to take. We just offered, we're not going to pressure them to do so. We just offered a helping hand, and we are ready and on the standby if they would like to act, on their own, in the sense of going to lay charges if nobody else lays these charges.
And if they don't lay charges, what would you attribute that to? Would it be, fear of intimidation?
Well, I don't think so, particularly. It's just that sometimes people don't want to, be seen in public or be made a spectacle of. They'd rather just let the incident slide. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen or that's what's going on in the victim's mind, but, it might be sometimes that victims choose not to. And it's not necessarily because they feel intimidated. However, the victims did give statements to IPID, the independent investigation unit of the police. And I think one should wait until IPID has actually gathered all the evidence. They will certainly, if there's a criminal act, be opening a docket in that sense. So in that way, let's first see how that plays out. And then, we hear what the victims have to say.
Your thoughts, Mr. Greeff, about the fact that yesterday we got confirmation from a police union that, police are allowed by law, Section 40, to use a certain amount of excessive force. And that, as a state employer, especially as a police officer or the defense officer, you are not immediately arrested like a normal citizen would be if you are found on video to have been assaulting someone with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, by the way. That you don't get arrested immediately. Obviously, as a normal citizen myself, I'd find that very unfair. What do you think about it?
No, it's certainly unfair. I mean, what you've seen on that video, what we all have seen, is a very serious crime. In fact, several crimes being committed in the same space of time. We've got reckless driving, we've got reckless endangerment, we've got pointing of firearms, we've got assault with GBH. In fact, it could even be argued there could be attempted murder because this person is passed out on the floor and you're kicking him in his head, or on the ground at least, and you're kicking him in his head. That is extreme violence. And there's nothing in the law that prevents a policeman from being immediately arrested upon prima facie evidence being presented of a crime having been committed. It's absolutely not so that police is entitled to being treated differently.
All right, Mr. Greeff, thank you very much for your time because, a lot of South Africans, as normal citizens, as I'd put it in inverted commas, if I was seen assaulting someone that badly with my friends or my colleagues, we would have been in jail right now already. But I guess it's different for police officers, and that is what is unfair. Pikkie Greeff speaking to us there, the secretary at the South African National Defence Union.